All right, so as usual, we're just gonna go through over the issue that's currently pending on our repos on GitHub. So we will start with the operator lifecycle manager repo first, and then probably move over to the registry repo on the second half of the meeting. Just give me a second to share my screen. Okay. All right, can anyone see my screen?
Yep.
All right, wonderful. So this is the issue on the registry, on the OM repo. So let's get started with the top of the list. This is issue regarding to a failed test case on our end-to-end test. It's the image update test. This is the test that I don't usually see on the list of the flaky end-to-end test case that we currently have. So I'm not entirely sure if this is local environment situation related, or this is something that we have seen more often recently or not.
This is. I can speak to this test.
Go ahead, Dan.
Basically, the test relies on an image registry, and it relies on Scopio to copy an image to that registry. So on OpenShift CI, it uses actually the OpenShift registry. I think it's the only test that uses the built-in OpenShift registry with all the authentication and stuff like that. And then on GitHub Actions, we actually skip it on GitHub Actions because we can't get a local registry to work with kind. So locally, it spins up a container registry and then uses kubectl port forward to expose that registry, and then uses local Scopio to copy the image from like Quay to that registry. So basically the test kind of it seems not to work well with kind locally. And the reason we don't see it flake on CI is because it works on CI, because it works with the OpenShift registry. And I don't know if there's a way around having it, if there's a way to get it to work on kind, essentially.
Okay, I see. Yeah, so I think we have a few tests that associate with something with like run a local registry and stuff like that. Sometimes it doesn't work well with the local environment. For the CI on upstream, we are just skipping the test. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying then?
Yeah,
because
we check
on upstream.
If it's GitHub
ahead,
Actions. We check
Okay.
if it's like GitHub Actions, and then we skip it.
Okay, then
So I don't see too much value in trying to get it do the way it's architected, trying to get it to change it. Or we can just basically right now we skip if it's GitHub Actions. We can also skip if it's, if it's on the kind control plane or whatever, like check to see. It does work in Minikube though. Locally, like I did get it to pass locally, but it doesn't work locally in kind.
Interesting. I guess this is a known issue for this specific test case on the Kai local environment, unfortunately. So it seems that we have no intention, we don't, unless it's not on our priority list to get this specific test case to be fixed.
Yeah, it works in CI, and it's kind of getting it to work locally at all was kind of like a big hack. But I feel like, I don't know, it's not a huge amount of value in trying to get it to work. with kind or whatever, because it relies on a registry, and like then you hit the you hit the untrusted registry problem basically. So that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, I guess this for now that we don't have a solution for this on, and no intention at this moment to fixing this bug, then we just probably just let comment on this and let the reporter know that this is a known issue for local run for Kai, and then probably need to skip in this test case specifically to avoiding its failing on the local. I'm not sure if he actually run into this issue when he run the entire test suite and see this test specifically failing. So that's why he tried to rerun it, because he targeted it specifically here. Either way, I don't see anything further we can do here except letting him know this is a known issue. Dan, would you mind commenting on this?
Yeah, sure.
If you don't mind. All right. Thank you.
Is it?
Go ahead, Alex.
On our kind cluster, but we run it everywhere else. Is it worth just running it on, the like not running it anywhere on downstream? That way this doesn't surface for anyone else.
You mean not running anywhere else on upstream, you mean?
Yeah, and then just running it downstream. That way, users won't hit this in the future.
Yeah,
like
it's
inverse basic now. Instead of disabling it upstream, enable it downstream.
We do. I mean, we having I think a check like Dan said to know to skip it on Kai cluster. We may as well just disable it on upstream entirely. To be honest, it's not a bad solution for this specific problem that this test designed to be for downstream only.
Yeah, and I recognize that's not really a solution. That's really just like, oh, don't make this apparent that it's an issue upstream, because there doesn't seem to be any value there if we're not going to actually implement a solution so that it runs.
It does.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Dan.
Sorry, I seem to recall like it does run. It's a kind specific problem though. Like I was able to get it to pass locally on Minikube. So, but nobody really uses Minikube that much. So everyone's using kind. So it's kind of like, I guess Alex, to your point, we could just disable it and just have it be a downstream only test where it consistently passes. If that's valuable, because we are skipping it in CI right now anyway. It's just locally, I guess, is where the problem comes up.
Yeah, I think the check for the Kai cluster is not efficient for the local running, so may as well just disable it entirely to make sure that it will not run on either upstream or locally. Yeah, so I get this common thing on this first, and then we can decide to disable that or not. It's just a matter of open a PR and disable this entirely.
Yeah, I would even say that might be, like in the ideal situation, we would actually get it to run. But doing that and we can't commit to that work, just disabling it on kind clusters, that seems more reasonable to me. And then, but we would also probably want an issue to track tests that we're disabling. Kind, like one issue would be disabling it on kind clusters, and the other one would be figuring out how to get it to run on kind clusters and then running.
Yeah, at this point, we probably should having a README on the end-to-end section actually to specify what are we doing with some of the specific end-to-end test case. I know that a few of them we skip at the moment, not just this specific test case we're planning to skip. There's a lot of test case we're skipping for a while now. Anyway, I will let Dan take the lead on this, and at least comment on this for now, and then we will proceeding with some of the way to make sure this test case doesn't surface at a failure on the local run too often. Okay, let's move on to the next issue. We do have a few test case related situation. I think it looked like this. This is an end-to-end test case for the subscription question. If not installed, I think this only been fixed. Is that correct, Tim? Is Tim here? I'm sorry.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, this isn't fixed. This has been popping up quite a bit recently.
Oh, this is a mention on another Mac file fixed. Also, still not fixed yet. I think the changing of my basic PR, the one that running on the different namespace, I think resolve this problem, right? At least it's no longer surface on my end when I run this locally, even
Yeah,
on the PR.
It's possible it would be fixed by like the cleanup of that. I think we talked about the subscription end-to-end package needs some work where we're not cleaning up some testing artifacts, mainly subscriptions that cause that leak into other tests and influence them, despite being unrelated. So I think this might just be a problem of that versus anything core issue.
Yeah, so essentially, if we run this on its individual tests on different namespace, then this should not having the leftover problem, right? That was the first we're talking about yesterday, I think.
Yeah, you got it.
And I probably should link BZ on this. Is this 240? I cannot remember. All right, we'll just gonna tag the PR for now, and hopefully when the PR merge, it will get resolve this issue. Okay, let's move on to the next issue. This is, I think, a request to saving some of the controller lock after the end-to-end test was running on our CI upstream. Is that correct? I'm pretty sure this even read this correctly. Nick?
Yeah, I don't think these are particularly things that we need to triage on the call. Anything that's related to the CI tracking issue.
Okay.
Because they're not net new things.
All right, let's just I remember this. Okay, then this is belong to the suite of CI problem that we're having recently. So we'll deal with that. Correct. So this is another CI problem, right?
I'll go through and triage these. So just go past everything that's like 7 days ago.
This.
By me,
Okay, I was
yeah.
skipping everything here. But we need a label for this so that we knowing this is end-to-end related. I will deal with that later. Okay. This one. Is this the same? Okay. Is it on the flake KA also the same problem? The on CI related? I think it is.
Those were created before the CI tracking issue. Those are all probably still relevant. Yeah, those are all still relevant.
they need to be pulled into the CI tracking issue.
I think they might already be. They're just
Yeah,
a
this is
standalone
CI
issue.
track. All right then. All right, let's skip all that for now. Let's talk about this real quick. I think there's an enhancement for this. All right, so this is the issue that we did talk about the last meeting, I think, about the optional OM support resources. Essentially about some of the resources that may potentially get installed a cluster or not, depend on the market optional, and I'm pretty sure there's enhancement for this. I know that some of us already seeing this enhancement, but some of us may have not. Is there any specific update on this? Kevin, I know you read this before.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. So, so there is that enhanced proposal is up. I think that if you guys haven't had a chance to take a look at it, please do so. I don't know if I can speak to, you know, whether or not we're going to merge that one soon. But I don't know if there's anything more to talk about there other than that EP is up and the conversation is over there.
If I understand correctly, it's proposing an annotation to handle that.
Correct.
And
OM optional.
yeah, I think the top feedback was, why isn't this just a property on bundles?
Yeah, that was the feedback I gave the other day. I think there's somewhere in Slack that's having this conversation as well.
The issue is that you can mark optional on the bundle, but that's for the entire bundle, right? They want it to be in the specific, literally manifest.
Yeah,
that's the difference there.
We would need to have some mechanism for defining, like we would need to have some like system of defining properties for specific manifests or specific files or some abstraction that made sense in that context.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, it's unreasonable. Like if that feels to me like the right thing to do. But I think we would need to think about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, so this is the official request essentially, and the author only push up the enhancement. So let everyone have a chance to just let everyone know that it exists, and let's have them have a chance to look into it. And we probably can discuss about this on the next feature meeting that coming up next week. So we can talk about that over there. I'm probably in a comment in this and let the author know that he can put an item on the agenda list for the next week meeting. We can talk about that over there. All right. Let's move on. We're only having quite a few already triad issue. I'm not sure if we want to revisiting them or is there anything new that we want to talk about, because there's most of them are either in the backlog or still waiting for response. For basically for this issue that we have talked a few times already, the fact that we were waiting for a PR to be merged. Are we planning to merge this PR anytime soon, perhaps?
I don't think we want to merge until the next minor release.
Okay, then send the milestone there. Okay. I just want to run down the list. Anything here that worth revisiting, because all of this have been talked about in the past.
So there's some stuff that in this list that's of course super old. Does it make sense if there's any time at the end of the meeting to kind of maybe run from the bottom up and start getting rid of stuff?
Yeah, we can do so. This is quite a long list though.
I mean, some of this stuff is just never gonna
Yeah,
get,
I mean, I would begin to closing out a few of them. Like for example, this one is not relevant anymore.
You
I
you
don't.
can't close that, it'll get reopened.
Is it the?
Let's try.
I actually don't know what this thing specifically about. Is that asking us to create a branches for the 4A and 4.9, even though we having that on downstream specifically somewhere else?
Yeah, so the 4.6 and 4.7 are still here. So I think tied. There's some like branch protection logic that might need to be cleaned up in some capacity. You can try closing it though. It might respect that, but given the edits at the bottom of it, I don't think it would.
The last time we're actually doing this is in February. So maybe things have changed. You know what? Let's give it a try to see if it's working.
How long do we have to keep 4.6 and 4.7 upstream?
That's a good question.
Like how long until we can remove that configuration? I'm wondering if like we
you need
should
to wait.
just
Do you need to wait until 4.6 is out of service?
so we can always, so we have a downstream repo now, and we have all the, I think 4.8, 4.9, and 4.10 for OpenShift building off of that. So we have like a downstream sync process, and it's really like made a big difference in how quickly we can merge things upstream here. But we still have those previous two attached to this repository. And I think we could move those downstream, but the thing that we'd end up losing on the entire repository is Tide support. So there's a Red Hat Tide instance that handles merging things and handles like batching pull requests to merge and all sorts of other lovely stuff to prevent us from having like merge conflicts and stuff. So we would need to find a replacement for that. If you know about anything, we would really be much appreciative.
So you can host your own Tide instance, and I think we were thinking about that earlier, like an operator framework Tide instance, but there's some maintenance involved. Well, I think there's some risk of doing it. I mean, even if 4.6 goes out of life cycle, 4.7 will still be supported. So there's still some risk in regressing during ZStream, but I don't know if this is the best venue to dive into moving those out from upstream, which seems completely reasonable to me.
I really think we should, and I think that we really should maybe, I don't necessarily think we need Tide itself, but we just need something to manage a merge queue. And it seems a little ridiculous that there's not something native in GitHub or as an action somewhere that'll just do that for us.
Alrighty, then I guess we can having that discussion sometime to get that specific thing resolved on the release branches. That's no longer relevant for the upstream anymore that we can remove potentially. Let's move on to the next issue that you know we can close out. This is about adding the Helm chart to the release. We do using Helm chart for the templating, and if I recall correctly, we're still using it. Is that correct? We know we intention to not using it anymore in the future, but we still using it. And this it.
They need this chart for the Kubitis installer. Right, so they're running off something that uses Helm charts. Well, who is the last response here?
From us, you mean?
Yeah.
Would be Evan from 2019. Which he
Jeez.
said that we don't intend to continue using him just at the templating forever. So that's why we had no intention to add the ham chart for to the release. But I think that's why we're still using it. So we haven't get rid of it, anything like that.
So like the request is that we publish a Helm chart for OLM. Do we ever have an intention of publishing a Helm chart for OLM and maintaining a Helm chart for OLM? Like we have
I think the
Helm
answer
templates.
is
No.
like I think the answer is
No.
just no.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We're only using it for
so-
templating. We don't have intention to publishing a ham chart just for OM.
Okay. So
Using
I
it
think
at the release cycle.
what we should do is say like this has been dragging on for a while. We don't plan on supporting a Helm chart for OLM because I don't know. Like it's a reasonable request. We just don't want to maintain it. So I think if somebody comes along and says we want to maintain a Helm chart and we want to supply a Helm chart and all the publishing that goes along with that, then they're free to do that. But until then, we're going to close this out.
Yeah, I think that's fine to me. We can just come to that. We had no intention to release a ham chart here, given that we don't actually using it for installing OM in the first place. And we had no intention to maintaining it either.
But like more than that, there are also other mechanisms with which to install OLM, right? Like they're asking for a Helm chart to install OLM because that's their package manager and what they use to manage packages in the cluster. And I don't think it makes sense for OLM to package itself in the context of another package manager.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay, I can comment on this and close it down in a bit. Anyway, we're reaching the halfway mark, so let's move on to the registry repo. All right, let's start with the top of the list. So I'm not sure. This is the warning about CVE for the Docker package that we have entered in. Should even listed the CVE specifically here. For some reason I cannot open this link. My Chrome frozen. Interesting. So there's a high severity CV on what the package that we using on the registry repo. I guess we can just open the PR to update this. I wonder if it's already been fixed or not. I think it's has been fixed. I think there's a fix already. So again, we can just update this dependency to get rid of this CV, I think. Is there anything more to this than this? The fact that we just need to update the dependency. is in the issue with the multi-arc for the upstream registry builder. Joe have commented on this. So yes, so Joe already mentioned this, the fact that a few of the binary that we have on the builder image is no longer in use anymore, including the initializer. I thought we no longer build this initializer anymore, but apparently it's still there maybe. And the config map server, I'm pretty sure we're still using it for the config map based catalog sort for the end-to-end testing that we're using. And I'm pretty sure we're still using the registry server, but mainly the OPM is the one we're using a lot. So I'm not sure what's the situation here. Does anyone have more context on this? Perhaps.
It's a little strange. This sort of morphed from a discussion on building multi-arch images or images with manifest lists to we have a bunch of deprecated binaries that are deprecated and are still in the registry builder image.
So I'm pretty sure what happened here is we started building a separate image just for OPM because that's the only binary that we will eventually want to come out of the registry, right? And then there was a request to do multi-arch. So when we moved over to using Go Releaser, we started building that OPM image multi-arch. And then now basically what's happening in this question is, hey, I want your other image to be multi-arch. And the answer is, well, we're trying to deprecate that image. Obviously, it seems like the project you're referring to is using this old image. So we need to start moving the project over to start using the new image as well. Part of that too is in the registry itself, there's like that Docker image scaffolding stuff. And I believe that points to the upstream builder image by default as like a builder image for the Docker file it scaffolds. Maybe the thing we need to do in order to get community operators to start using the newer image that's multi-arch is to change
the default.
Yeah, exactly. Like make it so that by default they use this other thing instead.
Okay. How can we make this issue more clear? Should we close this and open a new issue that is that?
Yeah, I kind of think we should. Let's open another issue that talks about changing the default and then reference that issue in this one and then close this one out.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Sorry, I was on mute. Okay, so we can open another issue to changing the default image references on the Docker file to the new image that we're building that's supporting multi-arc. and then reference it to this and close this one out. All right, that sounds good. Do anyone want to do this? I guess Kevin, would you mind take care of this?
So I just took a look, and actually we have actually just already updated it.
Oh, we did.
We point to that OPM image now. So
All right, and so we just need to comment on this and close it out. And
yeah, it looks like Joe did this like 5 weeks ago. So
we
it might
still
be the community
building?
operators is still using the old one, or maybe they even have something hard coded to the other image. I
Are
don't
we
know
still
what-
building it at all?
I don't
I
think
assume
so,
we-
right?
with the upstream OPM builder? I assume that well, actually, let's take a look. Like, there's all those Quay build triggers that are still sitting around. It might be we haven't turned those off.
Well, I don't think we want to turn them off. I think we want to turn them off for master. But leave the existing ones around so we don't break anything. And like if we need to rebuild older branches or something.
I think we did this. I'm looking at. I see the only build trigger I see is on tags for releases. So let me see. Let's look at the history. When was the last like build for master? Yeah, we haven't built this for master in a while. So we are already only doing this for releases, but we also are still doing it for any release, including newer releases. So we might want to limit that to already existing releases, so we stop building it for new ones.
Yeah, it
Yes.
seemed like on the community operator side, they still using the upstream registry builder image.
Well, it looks
They're
like there
having
was
a
a
specific
reference
tag.
issue. Maybe they're handling it there.
Yeah, they have an issue for this, even though I'm not sure if they commenting on this. This seems they had intention to update this specific image. Anyway, I mean, we did address this on our end, so it's just a matter of the community to switching over to a new image whenever they are ready. All right, I can comment on this and close it out. So we're no longer building this image, right? Am I correct on this?
We're still building it for releases. We're just not building it for master.
We should drop the Docker file.
Yeah, we probably should.
Unless it's a base image we use in the other one. It might be.
So we don't, that's pretty much the only two new issue that we have. Everything else already been tried on the previous meeting. We can go back to the bottom. Let's see if anything we can close out, perhaps.
Is there anything in the API project? I haven't looked.
Yeah, I have that open actually. 1 second.
There is actually some really cool validation stuff in Rego. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it might be nice to eventually have an issue that's like investigate kind of dropping all the custom validation stuff in favor of something like that.
You mean on the API repo?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on this specific repo, we have quite a few different type of validation from many different things, including, bundle contents, and even within the bundle content, we have validate a few different things there. So we can certainly use some work to have consolidating them and make them a bit more clear. We don't even having documentation specifically for this actually.
Yeah, sorry, this is a little off topic. Just like there's a good amount of maintenance that goes on in this repo for just issues with that validation library. And I think like having a set of like configs rather than Go files would be nicer. But
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this isn't the kind of the topic of this call, so.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly open the feature request or issue here, and we can track that. That's absolutely fine. Just go over a few things here. I'm trying to see if anything specifically stand out here. It's mostly some of the issue that Camila opened up about some of the logging info level that she's trying to do. I think this is her way to keep track of some of the PR that she having opening, to add a few things here and there and clean up some of the validation logging, including this one. It's only one of them already merged. There's another one that's still pending. To fixing some logging and testing. There's nothing major about this actually. So I don't think this is something particularly worth discussing about. And this is the one I think we talked about last week about trying to changing the open API commenting on the CSV itself, so this can actually propagate when we do the command. I think this is actually an interesting first issue. I wonder if anyone wants to take it, but anyway, I don't see anything specifically here that was discussing among the bigger group. Does anyone having anything specifically they want to talk about? Or anything in here that they want to talk about specifically? This is mostly just validation stuff that eventually gonna get work on. All right, let's go back to the registry post, see if we can close out a few things here. It's not really a long list, so we can actually closing a few things that would be nice. What is the release branches? This is about supporting multiple objects in the same name file. This is a long time ago. I'm not sure if this is still relevant or not. This is essentially when you can packing multiple object in the same file, same YAML file, and put that in the bundle. I don't think it's going to work for us at this specific time, because we actually it may is this something we care about or want to support?
I don't see why we can't just verify whether it works or not now with existing bundles. And if it does, then we can just close it out. But yeah, if it doesn't, it seems like something easy enough to implement. I don't think he even mentions file naming requirements. I don't think anything has file naming requirements anymore. Or if you go to 495, is it even talking about a like the package manifest quote unquote format that is defunct?
Yeah, the package manifest for sure is no longer there. I think in the package manifest back then, do we supporting multiple objects in one file? I don't think we do. We even with the package package manifest format. Within the bundle format.
I guess my point is if we've deprecated it and it's no longer used, and this is talking about that, then we can close this out until somebody else complains about it or needs it, right?
Yeah, this is definitely for the package manifest format because it's 2019. I don't think we have bundle back then. And this issue have been.
Okay, so initializer is deprecated, right?
Correct.
So I would just say initializer that supports the format, package manifest format that this issue references is deprecated. So we're not going to pursue this any further, and then close the issue.
Yeah, I think that's all good.
I do think our new stuff should
Sorry.
This is just keep writing. This is just an aside. Our new stuff should all work with YAML streams, like all of the bundle stuff.
All right, so closing that issue. This is the branching. This is about catalog source config, which is deprecated on the marketplace. So I think this is close. Even though it's specifically talking about the replace. If the replace, the version that on the replace field is missing, it's gonna throw an error, which is a typical behavior on the registry when you're building even the index. Do we have the intention to changing that behavior? I mean with the file-based catalog index, I don't think we have the issue anymore, do we?
Catalog source config. I mean,
Yeah, that's
catalog source config is defunct.
Yeah, it is, but it's still when you're building the bundle, when they're replaced and the version replaced is not existing on the index, it's still failing.
Yeah, that's a feature.
Yeah, that's kind of like our default behavior for the whole time, right?
Correct. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. We have no intention to change that behavior. Is that correct?
No, we don't. And also there's skips. Are there other comments on this?
No, I mean, Evan, this comment here is that this intentional, and that is correct.
But we will change this to be an optional validation state. Interesting.
Which we don't.
That was an idea.
Validating it.
Well, I mean, it is true that we're talking about building some APIs that would allow you to force an upgrade, even if the edges aren't valid. But not in the context of this project.
So they closed whatever their issue is there. Probably just got fed up because something happened.
So this specific is about, when they're loading the bundle, the operator up on the index. In this case, this is a comment from you, Nick.
Well, we're going back like 2 years now, so.
I know.
Scroll all the way down to the bottom. What's the latest activity on this?
Mostly just stay the last one with the specific.
Okay,
That's
so
a year ago.
This, like the cynical side of me says that our stale bot said that this was stale and that nobody's working on it. Admittedly, that's probably our fault for not following up with it again. But it seems like people haven't been poking it really. And OpenShift CI basically fights with the stale bot, so it never gets closed, which is not great. So this would have been closed as stale.
Yeah, it's fighting with the bot. So I mean, the thing is, this is the existing behavior that if you're adding a bundle with the replace and the version that is being replaced is not exist, it's gonna fail out when you try to add this specific bundle into the index. So that's still the existing behavior, and we consider that's pretty much a feature to gating around replacing a version that doesn't exist. That's gonna causing the problem when you're deploying this specific version of this operator. So we had no intention to changing it. So it's pretty much a done deal here that we can just close it out. That we won't changing this behavior specifically.
Again, the initial thing is is fixed. Maybe Evan was talking about, it seems like this person was talking about the catalog source config, right? What is this that's been backported?
Yeah, I'm trying to. For some reason,
It's not working.
it's my browser seems to acting up.
Did
Oh,
I just
usually go back.
maybe it's a wrong link? Okay. So we have no way of knowing when there's something back. Great.
This backboard. It's actually. Yeah, this is just not linked to anything. I'm not sure what this is about. Anyway, even with that point, Nick, the catalog source config is deprecated API already. So even in that sense, the issue is no longer relevant.
Yeah, I mean this doesn't happen anymore because there is no catalog source config and there's no failure. So the initial thing is solved. Really, it kind of morphed.
All right, then I'm closing the issue. Anyway, I think we at time here. So I think this is pretty much the end of the meeting. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and I will see you all in the next OM upstream meeting next week, Thursday, and we'll see you then. Happy keep on and enjoying the rest of the day. Bye.